everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do just a quick fun tag video. I actually was doing an outfit post for my blog everydaystarlet.com. I wanted to do like a 90s glam look. It should be on my blog next week if you want to head over to everydaystarlet.com and subscribe via email, my social media, anything like that. I found this 90s tag and I was like, you know what? I'm in a 90s kind of mood. Why not do the tag? So just a little background, I was actually in like junior high and high school when the 90s were going on, so I don't call myself a child of the 90s, but I definitely consider myself a product of the 90s because I wasn't a kid, but yet my sort of coming of age was in the 90s. So if you want to see my 90s tag questions and answers, then just keep watching. Question 1, favorite Disney film? I was obsessed with Beauty and the Beast. Actually, side note, I was obsessed with fashion magazines in the 90s, and I read somewhere in one of the fashion magazines that lunchboxes were in. So I got to high school and all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna have a lunchbox and be cool. The reason I'm telling that story is because my lunchbox was actually a Beauty and the Beast lunchbox because I was cool. I actually really wasn't cool. I was like a drama nerd, and carrying the lunchbox only made me seem even weirder. And I don't know what my obsession was with Beauty and the Beast. For some reason, Belle was like, I don't know, just connection, because at the time in the 90s I was a brunette, so I related to her, but now I'm blonde, so I don't really relate to her as much anymore, I guess. I'm more of a Cinderella kind of girl, but in the 90s I was all about Beauty and the Beast. Favorite music artist? In the 90s, I would say like early 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, I was all about New Kids on the Block. That was my first concert. I used to wear like their huge, like they had those huge button pins, like I used to wear those on my jacket. As the 90s got in, like I was a total like pop princess, like Britney and Christina were probably like my top. And I don't know, I went back and forth as to which one I liked better. I'd say probably in the 90s, like Britney won out. Like Britney was my girl in the 90s. Favorite candy or sweeties? I actually didn't eat a lot of candy when I was a kid, which I think surprises a lot of people because I was actually quite overweight. My mother just didn't allow junk food in the house because she knew I was going to eat it. I would sometimes try to sneak chocolate, but I always noticed it made my acne, which I also had. I was super cool. I carried a lunchbox, I had acne, and I was overweight, and I was in the drama club in high school, so I was like the coolest person ever. So I've never really been a chocolate person. I'd say if I had to pick a candy, it probably would have been like either like a hard candy, like a Lifesavers or something. I also used to eat Twizzlers a lot because they promoted they were fat-free, which they are fat-free, but they're also full of sugar, so they're not exactly the healthiest, but my mother would sometimes buy Twizzlers because they were fat-free. And in the 90s, everything was like, if it was fat-free, it was the best, so. Favorite game, and that is board game or school game, etc. I would say my favorite 90s game that I used to play like with my family was probably Uno. We used to play that quite a bit. Favorite McDonald's Happy Meal toy? Who needs a toy? You do know that there are French fries in there. That's gift enough. Okay, next question, favorite book? I have my Kevin Aquan books actually from the 90s. I think those are more like late 90s though. And I still have those and I still obsess over those. I think they're like under some of my makeup, so I couldn't actually get to them to show you. But those are some of my favorite makeup books. I was also obsessed Bobby Brown's original book. That's Bobby Brown the Cosmetic People, not Bobby Brown the singer. Not to be confused, this is a 90s video. Bobby Brown's original makeup book was another of my favorites. I didn't really read like literature back in the 90s. Like I was all about like fashion or makeup books. I was obsessed with magazines, and when I was younger it was like Teen, 17, and also YM, I think it was for Young and Modern or something. It's not still a magazine, but I was like obsessed with that one. And then when I was pretty young, I switched over to like Cosmo, which I was too young for like the sex advice, but like the fashion and makeup advice, and I used to obsess over. I'm a 90s magazine girl all the way. Favorite clothing store? I don't remember the names of a lot of the clothing stores I used to shop at. Pretty much like any like cheap mall store was what I would go for because I was really into like trends and being unique and creative and like the latest fashions I would see in the magazines, and my parents didn't really want to spend a lot of money on like trendy stuff. Okay, next question, favorite Nick Jr. show? I was a little old for Nick Jr. in the 90s, I have to admit. but I would definitely say my favorite like Nickelodeon show in the 90s, Clarissa Explains It All. Yes. Melissa Joan Hart had my heart as Clarissa. She had like a pet alligator and she wore like these crazy clothes, which I was totally into, and it was like, for those of you that don't know, it was like pre-Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which if you are too young to remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I can't talk to you. I'm sorry. But Clarissa Explains It All was where it's at. And last question, what would you watch when you got home from school? I was all about TV back in the 90s. It was my life. Fashion magazines and television. I was super intellectual. But I would say, for me, must-watch television back then was the Mickey Mouse Club. That was, I actually watched it like prior to when like Carrie Russell and Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears were on it. But I kept watching it while they were on it. But like the show was going on for like a while before they were on it. But the Mickey Mouse Club was a must-watch for me on Disney. And I used to watch Kids Incorporated, which had Fergie on it, a young, like, kind of like full-faced, blonde-haired Fergie. The deal was that I had to watch the Mickey Mouse Club. That was regardless, no matter what. If I got my homework done in time, I could watch Kids Incorporated first and then watch the Mickey Mouse Club. I also was obsessed with Square One, which I believe was like a PBS show, but it was like a comedy sketch show, but it incorporated math. My other must-watch TV shows weren't technically after-school shows, but I want to give a shout-out to my absolute favorite 90s sitcoms. The Golden Girls was kind of like more 80s, but they were on in the 90s. You know, all of your like stand-up comedian-driven shows like Home Improvement, Roseanne, just your classic comedies like Friends, Will and Grace. I'm a complete 90s sitcom product, I would say. So those are the 90s tag questions. I hope you had fun watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. If you would like to do this tag, if you are a child or teen or product of the 90s, I tag you, anybody who wants to do it. If you do this tag, or if you have done this tag, leave a comment below and let me know. You can also follow me on all my social media channels. Those will all be linked below. And be sure you subscribe to my channel. I am super close to 500 subscribers, and I'm actually going to be doing a giveaway when I reach 500. So be sure you subscribe and be sure to look out for my giveaway that will be coming very soon, because I am so close, people, so close. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.